I've often felt that way, Gordon, with some of your concoctions. A human guinea pig.
This is character building, Ray.
Well, it's Gordon's turn for some character building.
Shall we have a look at some of the
Let's
limpets?
look. I'd be intrigued to see.
The limpet shell, now that it's cooled off, these ones have fallen off, but that just lifts off.
I see, and then
And that on top that's the guts on top.
the yellow.
The yellow there.
And the black too?
If we get rid of all of that, there's like a sack.
I see, yellow
And
and
then
black.
you're left with the foot.
Oh, I see. Right.
Enjoy.
Okay. That's interesting. Right.
Bit chewy.
Victory is
It
a
just lifts up.
understatement, I think. Sort of
Tasty though.
tasty, but sort of tasty eraser.
It's not that bad. I think you're being a bit harsh.
It's more flavoursome than I thought.
If they don't lift off, then they're not cooked enough. There you go. You clean that. They're good.
I'll be interested to try the other chaps.
Gordon, you've got to eat them all because you gathered loads.
I did rather overdo the limpet gathering, I have to confess.
It's all right though.
It is okay, it's food, and the body reacts to it as food.
I quite like them. I think they're good. They'll be hot still. I'll hook it out. Try that.
Is there anything to remove here?
No, just eat the whole thing.
The whole thing, right.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Take these wing cookers. These shells get very, very hot to get it all the way out. Like that. There you go. See what you make of that. And it just comes out. What did our ancestors do with these, Gordon?
Chuck 'em.
They just threw them, didn't they? Now, of course, the real pièce de résistance has to be
Now, what do you eat?
all of it.
The whole lot. So
The whole thing.
there's no guts to be got.
No,
So what are the different components?
I haven't a
the
clue. Just eat it.
That's hot.
It's like a hot witchetty grub.
That I find is not an encouragement, Ray. Interestingly. That is very meaty and very good.
And there's a lot of it, isn't there?
A lot of it, indeed. Yeah.
But you know, of course, for our ancestors, every tide, every low tide, the beach is exposed to a greater or lesser extent. There is the opportunity to collect protein with very little effort, and that was a very significant resource of food for ancestors.
So hungry children could have something provided for them in a matter of minutes.
It's easy to imagine our ancestors sitting in this primal wood of hazel, hawthorn and birch. And just along the coast lies the final destination of this part of the journey, proof of the presence of Mesolithic Britons here. This rock is a natural shelter. It provided protection from the rain for our Stone Age ancestors for thousands of years. In the year 2000, a dig unearthed the treasures hidden on its slopes. Treasures Dr. Nicky Milner of York University has come to share.
Well, I tell you what, this overhang's really fortuitous, isn't it? It's pouring with rain out there, but we're dry in here. And this was in use for thousands of years, wasn't it?
Yes, it was first in use about 9,000 years ago, and it continued for several hundred years through the Mesolithic, and then has been repeatedly visited ever since then, in later periods as well.
And what do we know about what actually happened here?
Well, we have some clues from the excavations which were taking place just in front of the rock shelter, and there was a big pile of food waste, really, a lot of shellfish and animal bones, which tells us something of what they were eating. I brought some shells along, actually, just so you can see. I mean, even though these are 9,000 years old, they are still in pretty good condition, I think. Those are the limpets.
That's amazing.
And most of it was mainly limpet.
They're tiny limpets.
They are small, I think.
I wouldn't collect limpets that small. I'd only go for larger ones.
Yes, they are, compared to what we gathered.
I wonder if they cooked them the way we cooked ours. Just put some embers over the top, put them in the shell.
They also like chewy food if they were so fond of limpets.
Well, you'd have got on really well then. I mean, you like your limpets, don't you?
I find them slightly rubbery, Ray.
It's interesting you say about cooking, because it's very difficult to see how they were cooked, and I think sometimes we've even considered that maybe they were eating them raw, but it makes much more sense that they were cooking them, and we do sometimes get some scorching marks on them, which
Oh, that's a
suggests
useful
that.
guide.
And also mussels, razor shells, they show much. They're very, very fragmented in the middens. That they've really broken down, probably because they've been cooked.
But the meal that we cooked was limpet, mussel, winkle, some dog whelks, and razor shells.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we found here. Yes.
I don't know about you, but I find this intriguing. We're actually touching the remains of a meal.
This I've always found intriguing, and it continues, despite years and years working with the ancient materials from the past. I still find it exciting to hold things that were held by a very different hand.
This is what it's all about, making that connection to our past.
And of course, it wasn't just shellfish, although a lot of the midden itself is made up of shellfish. There's all sorts of other things: crabs, seabirds, red deer, wild boar. A huge range of different kinds of foods.
Amazing.
Even badger, actually.
Red deer would have been very important because it's very cosy in here, but it would be more comfortable if we had a fire going and we had a red deer skin to sit on. It would be a lot more comfortable. And we'd be wearing clothes not of modern materials but of skin sewn together with the sinews from the animal, the antlers to make our harpoon points. And maybe the seabird's wing feathers were used for fletching arrows used to hunt on the coast.
There are actually cut marks on the birds. On the bird bones, suggesting that the wings are being cut off. The seal as well is something else that's found on quite a lot of these sites.
That's fascinating.
And I think the seal skin and the blubber would have been really useful.
Very important indeed. Maybe they had lanterns here made of seal fat. I've seen that used by the Inuit.
These people were obviously carrying around with them a huge repository of knowledge.
One of the things that surprised us about the research we've been doing into wild foods is that it's also a reflection on how we've altered and impacted our own environment. And back when they don't look 9,000 years old, do they? I mean, when these were being eaten, Britain was a much cleaner, healthier environment than it is today. And many of the habitats that our ancestors depended upon for food no longer supply food. And I think that's been really interesting. So it's very easy for us, I think, from our sort of ivory towers of technology and computers to look down on our ancestors. But for much, much longer than our recorded history, they were able to live alongside nature without necessarily damaging or destroying it. I think they actually have a lot to teach us.
This is a fabulous journey of discovery, a unique opportunity to share knowledge, exchange ideas, and deepen our understanding of the world. I can't wait to take to the water and travel inland via our ancient wetlands, the highways of Mesolithic Britain.
And that'll be next Wednesday here on BBC Two, same time, 8 o'clock. Next tonight is our health service, a terminal case. The final part of Can Jerry Robinson Fix the NHS? A smash hit this Christmas, now we get the full story.